this is pretty informal, so people can still be gathering drinks and we can get started. Welcome everyone, nice to see the usual mix of familiar and new faces. As the familiar faces will know, I'm Wally, I'm the chairman of the American Friends of Stowe. And as you will no doubt have noticed, we have upgraded the venue this year. In a radical change, we've managed to escape the gravitational pull of Drury Midtown. And here we are in this fantastic space. And we owe a great debt of gratitude to Paul Henkel, who suggested this and made it happen, and allowed this organization, which is getting older by the year, to actually get younger in spirit. I think that's a fabulous thing. I'm not going to speak very long. I'm really just going to introduce tonight's speakers, who are going to be Colin, who you all know, who will be giving us an update on Stowe and the many activities there, including the development side of things. And then Paul will also talk and give us some background on these fabulous paintings and the history of the gallery and how he's been involved in Stowe. So without further ado, over to you, Colin.
Thank you very much indeed. And thank you all for joining us this evening. It's been nearly 20 years now since I first arrived at Stowe. It's been almost 20 years since I have worked at Stowe. There were a couple of years in the middle of all of that where I worked at Radley. but I have to say that this event has absolutely become a highlight in my annual calendar coming to New York for the American Friends of Stowe event. So I'm delighted once again to be with you. And the first thing I must say is that I send the headmasters best wishes. Now, you know, we marked two important things on July the 4th this year. We marked, of course, Independence Day, but we secondly marked Election Day in the United Kingdom. As it turned out, we welcomed a new shade of colour to government in the UK. A government which, as it also turns out, is not going to make life entirely straightforward for us in the independent school sector. And at a time when spending and costs are under the microscope with our parents, if no one else, Anthony Wallersteiner is aware of the optics of overseas travel from him and Valerie. So very understandably, I think he's taking a year out from coming across to New York. But he wanted me to assure you, it's much easier for me to sneak away under the radar, if you like, but he wanted me to assure you that he certainly will be back, and I hope next year. So I'm going to channel my inner headmaster, my inner Wallersteiner, and speak on his behalf about the progress that Stowe has been making. And despite all the headwinds that we face, we really are well set. You don't need me to tell you, we are all linked to a school that enjoys the most sublimely beautiful surroundings. Even my two daughters, I was lucky enough to send two daughters to Stowe, they're now in their early 20s. Even now, they are looking back and commenting and reflecting on just how lucky they were. My younger daughter still likes to take me back for walks around the school grounds, and she's only in her early 20s. They mightn't all have appreciated it as much on Friday afternoon. This glorious view, the blue is slightly enhanced, I think, perhaps. This glorious view over the lake is the one with 920 Stoics. There are now 920 Stoics. All enjoyed as they took part in the annual compulsory inter-house cross-country competition. I'm not sure whether many of you remember.
And one of the was.
I'm still scarred. I wasn't no Stoic. I was in a school in Belfast, a boarding school in Belfast, and we had an inter-house cross-country competition there. I'm still scarred by my memories of it. Normally it's held in driving rain and wind. On Friday last week, the day before half-term, it was a beautiful early autumn fall day, and that was the sort of view that 920 Stoics enjoyed. And you know, the work that has happened at Stowe since the National Trust took over in 1989 has been magnificent. We have, I think, the prescience and the strategic wisdom of our governors at the time then, to thank for the arrangements that saw the transfer of the grounds to the National Trust and the establishment of Stowe House Preservation Trust. And for those who haven't been back to Stowe in recent years, you would be amazed, I think, to see what has happened to Stowe over the last few years. This, ladies and gentlemen, is now the state dining room. So this is the room where Stoics have their breakfast, lunch and dinner. The painting on the ceiling, the work of Joshua Harris in the mid-18th century, has been brought back to life. And you'll see around the walls the replica tapestries, again taking us back to Stowe as it was in the 18th century. It is absolutely breathtaking. If you get the chance to come back, if for no other reason than to admire what's happened in the house, you really should do. Our campaign for Stowe and the generosity of our donors has seen the transformation and the renewal of the facilities of the school, and through them, the opportunities we're able to offer Stoics. Facilities that are now able to compete with and prevail, I would say, over many of our competitors. And within the next 8 weeks, we will have finished the work on, this is an artist's impression, clearly, the work on a brand new design, technology and engineering centre. Those of you who remember the old workshops, the last carbuncle in the infrastructure, the academic infrastructure of Stowe. This new building that is going to lie just west of the new music school is going to transform the opportunities we're able to provide for those studying design, technology and engineering. It really is, I would say, very exciting. For those who may say that Stowe is not as academic as some schools, I think they should take heed of the fact that 2/3 of our leavers this year have gone on to win places at the leading selective Russell Group universities. Just in the last week, Stowe has been placed in the top 10% of schools in the country for added value. That's the comparison between a child's latent potential as measured when they come to the school and the grades they ultimately achieve. We are in the top 10% of schools in the country for what we call added value. But education, as we know, is about an awful lot more than just what happens in the classroom. And I know from my own experience of boarding school in Belfast that long after the memories of what I was taught in those economic, I can't even remember what I did for A-level, economics, maths and history lessons have faded. It's the soft skills, isn't it, that we're taught and that we develop. In my case, the time spent on stage, at musical ensembles, the lessons in leadership that have stood me in good stead. And so it is true that an education at Stowe is about all of those skills and more. Now, if you get a chance, pick up a copy of this. I brought some printed copies of it. Stowe Mail. I launched this about 10 years ago. It was a 2-sided document. Now it is 14 or 15 pages. And it summarises for members of our community all the stuff that's going on a daily, on a weekly basis at the school. And you should just glance at the breadth of activity that is taking place at the school that you know nowadays. It's an extraordinary testament to the breadth of Stowe education. Some of you will be aware that Stowe has grown in one very important sense. In early 2021, we formed the Stowe Group, made up now of 3 schools and over 1,500 pupils educated across our group. So Winchester House in Brackley, Swanbourne House just south of Winslow in the other direction, are now wholly owned, and the strategic importance of that cannot be overstated. 70% of their leaving pupils now come straight to Stowe into the 3rd form, which is vitally important in the current market. So we have the strength of now educating children from 3 through to 18 across the Stowe Group. One of the crucial and central programmes that lies at the heart of the Stowe Group of what we do, and in many ways, I think, defines the values and the ethos of Stowe, is Change 100. And on behalf of the head and the trustees too, I want to thank sincerely all of you, who have seen a way to support that programme. I work very closely with Andrew Tucker. Andrew, thank you. who attends all of our governing body meetings and is chairman of the campaign for Stowe. And he knows, the governors know, and I know, and can appreciate the impact of life-changing educational opportunities that we give to children from much less advantaged backgrounds through fully funded places, talented and deserving children who deserve the sort of education that Stowe can provide. Now, a month ago, we compiled a report for our donors of the 10 children who joined us this September, so a month ago, 10 new children on fully funded places at Stowe, beneficiaries of the Change 100 programme. We also reported on the progress of our first Change 100 leavers who left Stowe this summer, including a young lad called Emmanuel. Now, here he is, here's Emmanuel, speaking at, as you do, the House of Commons last year. It's not actually the chamber, you can clearly see it's not the chamber of the House of Commons, but what a jaunty sight that would be if that was the debating chamber. We had an event for donors and those who were interested in Change 100, and Emmanuel spoke, and, you know, having heard from the headmaster and boring people like me, Emmanuel completely stole the show. And if I may, I just wanted to read for you some of what he said in his speech. He said it was because of the Royal National Springboard Foundation, which is one of our partner charities, that I was able to join Stowe, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made in my life. Coming to Stowe for the first time with my family in March 2022 was surreal. The views of the site front and designs of the mansions were literally breathtaking, especially coming from Tottenham, which is such a different place. Coming in, he says that the sixth form was nerve-wracking to say the least. I didn't know what to expect, especially as a boy from an ethnic minority, and I knew that friendship groups had already been solidified. But what I found was a kind and welcoming community of Stoics and teachers ready to support me through a new chapter in my life. My first few months were great. I enjoyed the work, doing many activities I wouldn't have had the chance to otherwise, and meeting so many new people and making new connections and friends. I've had the privilege, he says, of meeting new people from all sorts of backgrounds and different cultures, which has enabled me to expand my knowledge of the world and the plethora of opportunities that could be ahead of me. Coming to Stowe, he says, I think I've achieved quite a lot, and I've had a lot of highlights, such as receiving full colours in my second term, playing with the first 5 in basketball. 5 people in the basketball team, there must be. First 5 in basketball, getting academic colours, and the Valentine's Ball, which I won't go into detail about, he says. The list goes on, but the one I'm most proud of is becoming head of house in Chatham after only a year, which is, in my opinion, the best house. It was an honour to be selected to become head of house, particularly as my fellow Stoics put me forward. And not only was I supported by my housemaster, but by the majority of boys in the house too. Finally, he says, coming to Stowe has been a life-changing experience, and I'm so grateful to the Change 100 bursary programme and to all its donors, but also to the school, my parents, family, teachers and friends who've been behind me and supported me every step of their way. In future, I hope to come back to Stowe and speak about Change 100, and I hope there will be many more children like me who get the opportunity to come to such a great school. So that is what Change 100 does, ladies and gentlemen. An extraordinary young man, and it's a testament to what we've been able to achieve for him. Now, Change 100 plays a very important part in a much bigger vision for Stowe, which goes to the heart of the proposition and the reality that education must be about more than just the knowledge imparted in classrooms. Our mission is to create change makers, young people who have the skills and the qualities to make positive change in the world. It's grounded in the insight and reality that the most in-demand skills that businesses need and that society needs are not necessarily those that schools have traditionally talked about. The World Economic Forum confirms in their Future of Jobs report that it highlights the crucial importance of emotional intelligence, leadership skills, analytical thinking, and an ability to pioneer and innovate, complex problem solving, and so forth. And these skills lie at the heart of a lot of what we do. So we run change maker days at Stowe. We collapse the curriculum and we focus on skills development. The work that our prefect body does this year to take on the development of one of those themes through the year, the opportunities that we create for Stoics at every age to develop leadership skills and more. These things and more are all about what we do to create the change makers of the future. And I wanted to finish, fingers crossed that this works, by showing you a short video that, if you like, summarises what all of that is about. So,
what does it mean to be a change maker? Well, it's not a concept that can be packaged up or easily defined. Like life, change just doesn't happen in a straight line.
Harnessing disruptive ideas takes more than skill. It needs something deeper, an attitude that reverberates from within. And it's in everyone.
We all have the potential to make change.
We're all inquisitive souls with unique intellects.
And an education that encourages these freedoms is essential in our ever-changing world.
And a lot has changed during the 100 years of Stowe, but the essence of what it actually means to be a Stoic has remained. Our founding headmaster wanted us to admire and develop both head and heart, to delight in work which shaped clarity and sensitivity, and above all, to never produce a type.
These principles are still at the heart of the school today and shape all who are part of Stowe, across generations and around the world. Free thinkers, ready, not just for a life of tests, but for the test of life.
And our mindset is more valued now than ever before.
Because this new world is built for the curious, those with agile minds and conscious hearts, ready to navigate a labyrinth of exponential technologies, cultural awakenings, and a planet that's feeling the pressure. Individuals who believe all intelligence is expandable, all learning learnable, and all potential reachable.
Because the next 100 years will see more challenge to convention than any before. And we'll need to be more creative in our thinking, more collaborative across our continents, and more careful with our environment.
So, how many of us are willing to stand for change?
thank you again for coming this evening. Thank you, Paul in particular, for hosting us and providing such a wonderful venue. Thank you for supporting Change 100. If you'd like to do so further, or if you'd like to do so for the first time, please do speak either to Andrew or myself during the course of the evening or thereafter. And come back and see us at Stowe. We have the International Friends of Stowe dinner a couple of days before Speech Day. It's become a tradition now where we have a big concert, pop concert, the night before Speech Day. We're signing up the artist at the moment. Can't tell you who that is going to be, but come back for Speech Day. Come back in May. Stowe looks at its very, very best at that time of the year. So again, thank you for coming. I'm going to invite Paul to say a few words.
Thank you so much. That was very exciting to see how much things have changed even in the short time since I've been away. My name is Paul Henkel. You are in my gallery, Palo Gallery, Chatham 2015. Before we kind of just leap into the context of the artwork you're sitting around, I'd be remiss not to mention the influence that this school had on me and how it led me down a path focused on art, creativity, brilliance, aesthetics. It's obvious to anyone in this room who went there growing up, spending those 5 years around such beauty, such encouragement to pursue other avenues, and I mean many of the traits on that list I think I definitely picked up at Stowe for an industry that is very complicated and weird, and when it comes to problem solving and dealing with strange social situations and interesting people. This exhibition you're in is by a brilliant artist we've been working with for just over 3 years now, called Lewinale Havette. She is based in Atlanta, but originally grew up in Liberia and lived a few years in Ghana before coming to the States. Her installation piece in the center room there, which you walk past, is very much a response and narrative around her migratory story, while the artworks all around us, 80% of which are self-portraits, the others are very specifically chosen subjects of hers, while acts of portraiture are also, or more importantly, ruminations on looked over and lost parts of her West African folkloric identity. So growing up, her father was a Christian pastor, and her and her mother were very much discouraged from engaging with the kind of traditional religious practices and tales experienced kind of in her region in Liberia. So a lot of this work is in trying to rediscover that. Many of these artworks have titles like Sybil or Mami Wata, which is a reference to a specific West African water spirit. And most of these are a struggle of discovery of spirituality, of identity, and of sensuality in a great capacity. I think one of the things she said that stuck with us when she did her talk standing here a few weeks ago was that she found when she moved to America that a lot of women she saw in art were depicted as in positions of vulnerability or objectification, and she found that she wanted to make art and painting. She wanted to paint abstract, but she realized she couldn't do that, and she had to use her language to paint women, including herself and those close to her, in positions of power, both sensually and vulnerably, but using those things as sources of power and defiance and control rather than objectification. There is a great mix of themes going on in all the works. If you want to get a little more context, there's a great blurb on the wall and some pieces of paper with artwork titles and bios. In the salon here, we have a selection from a few artists we've worked with over the last year and in the coming year. But just to give a little context. To bring a background, I think I just want to kind of thank everyone for coming tonight, for supporting Stowe and in particular Change 100, which is the project that got me involved with the American Friends of Stowe as something that I thought was incredibly vital, as that video made clear, to our future, the next 100 years on this planet. Education is the ultimate tool for changing society, improving it, uplifting people, and creating opportunity. I mean, most of the problems in our culture today come from a fundamental lack of opportunity in education, and I think this project and this program is a really good opportunity to support change that will make a big difference. Thank you.
Well, I think that concludes the event, the formal portion of the event. So please relax, mingle, eat, drink, and